This meeting is called to order. Everybody sit down, please. Brian Shrive, sit down. Chris Smitherman, sit down. Bill Seitz, sit down. Yeah. Okay, everybody. Welcome. I'm so glad to see you tonight at EmpoweU's 15th season-ending event. Give yourselves a round of applause. So there's a couple people I want to introduce you tonight, just people you may have heard on the radio or seen. And I'm going to actually have one person get up. We're on a tight timeline tonight, but I think it's important you hear a couple things he's got going on. That's a guy by the name of Brian Shrive, who introduced us to the city of Cincinnati and their text messages scandal. I'm going to have Brian just tell you about that for just a minute or two, and also about his new lawsuit.
Thanks, Dan. I don't want to take up too much time, but I do want to give you a little bit of an update on our cases. About 3 weeks ago, we filed suit against the city of Cincinnati and the fabled Gang of Five, P.G. Sittenfeld, Chris Seelbach, Tamaya Denard, Greg Landsman, and Wendell Young, to get text messages. So far, we've gotten 10 pages of text messages that there was a group text, but we're still getting individual text or seeking individual text. And I think they're going to fight that hard. So it's going to be probably withering litigation and expensive litigation, unfortunately, for the taxpayers. But we're going to get those records, and we're going to expose those council members and what they're up to and what they have to say. And then we just earlier this week, filed a suit to obtain public records from Aftab Puraval. When he became the clerk of courts in early 2017, he did a house cleaning of what he thought were the two attached or Republicans, two people that were too attached to the Republican Party or otherwise that would get in his way. And apparently we have understand that there were some sort of severance agreements or some sort of documents as well that we've asked to get copies of. We submitted that request about 6 weeks ago. We received absolutely no response. No go to hell, no we're working on it, no nothing. So after 6 weeks of waiting, we filed suit. Just yesterday, we received notice that we were going to get the documents by May 10th, but I'm sure appropriately redacted. But the point here is to see who's doing this work, because we don't believe that the Hamilton County prosecutor was involved in that, who is the official attorney for the county clerk, or the clerk of courts, and we want to find out really what else, what was the end game, and was there a misuse of public dollars here? And so we really are trying to expose corruption and misuse of the public dollars, and hopefully be able to make some real changes in public office and in the way public business is done. So
let's give Brian a round of applause. Thank you. Thanks, Brian. Couple other people I just want you to say hello to. Lady Liberty, Ann Becker's in the house. Ann, would you raise your hand? Where are you? Ann Becker, I just saw her. Maybe she's at the restroom. She'll be back. She's at the bar, okay? So she'll be back in just a second. And then we also have a kind of a friend of EmpoweU, Barbara Howadell, who is running for the State Central Committee 8th District. Barbara, would you stand up and say hello? Let's give Barbara a round of applause. We're so lucky tonight. For years, Brian Shrive was talking about the Ohio Public Records Act. For years, Kurt Hartman, who's now a district judge, taught that class for us for EmpoweU. I think he taught 7 of them. He has been willing to come tonight, and we're so happy. He's going to say the Pledge of Allegiance for us. Kurt Hartman. There's Ann Becker. She was trying to hide incognito. Would you raise your hand, Ann Becker, and say hello? Let's give her a round of applause.
Will you please rise and join me in the pledge? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Dan.
And we're so lucky tonight to have the voice of EmpoweU, Mr. Don Hurd, who is going to lead us in the Star Spangled Banner.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. It's in you. So, it's so great to have you here tonight for kind of our 15th semester party event. And I wanted to introduce you to our team who have made this just our most successful year ever. I think 5 of our events were sold out. And it's been so much fun having these classes. You know, I got an email from somebody this week, and he said, your events, you've got a bunch of people there that they're not really conservatives, and I don't know what you're having them come to your season-ending event for. And what I wanted to say to the person who wrote me, but I didn't, was you don't really get the concept of what EmpoweU is. What EmpoweU is, it's a way to try to empower people in their own lives for many different purposes. So when we hear from our lead speaker tonight, Rocky Boiman, who I'm so happy chose to come and talk to us tonight, who's going to talk about 2 things that are as important as conservative politics and anything, and that's teamwork and leadership. Could you imagine how our world would be so much better if we had more leaders who all were trying to play on the same team? And so I'm glad he's here. But I wanted to introduce you to our team tonight. We've got Bill Roll, who's our treasurer back there, who's helped us so much this year. Let's give him a round of applause. We've got Jay Grunke, who's our producer back there, who's putting us online tonight. Thank you, everybody. Welcome to all you who are here. We've got Betty Overstreet, who is our community relations director right back there. And we've got the incredible Nita Thomas, who's our executive director right back there. And I think we've got 2 board members, Joe Saylor and Joe Platt. So now what we're going to do, I'm going to ask Nita and Betty to come up and Brian Thomas, and we're going to award some Empowered Citizen Awards for people that are out there, you guys who have come to so many of our classes, 10 classes over 2 semesters. And we're going to reward you for the great work that you've done. So Nita and Betty, come on up. Brian. And we will we've got 24 winners. This is by far the most award winners we have ever had.
I'm not even quite sure what I'm doing.
Oh, you don't know? You get to talk first.
Oh, am I supposed to speak now? No, Dan, am I supposed to speak now? I wasn't given an agenda. Okay, free form here. I have no idea what I'm supposed to be doing. They said to MC the event, which I'm happy to do. I love EmpoweU. This is the coolest thing ever. And as Dan pointed out, this is this is my program. This is what I'm all about, empowering you. Who's better capable of making decisions in your life but you? I detest the notion that someone in DC is capable of making a better decision for my family than me or my wife. I hate it. EmpoweU is about educating us and educating you so we can make better informed decisions. It's not all politics. It's all kinds of broad topics, different information. I mean, we heard the other night about the terrible tragedy that happened over at the Beverly Hills Supper Club. Okay, interesting, phenomenal, amazing. corruption, deceit on the highest levels. You get to learn about that as well. So, you know, this is an amazing thing, and I cannot applaud Dan Regenold enough. Look at this room. I mean, he's got a business to run. Look how much space he has dedicated simply to helping to educate people in the community on his own dime. If we had more Dan Regenolds in the world and more free-thinking people and more people who are committed to the notion of educating themselves and doing better for themselves, trust me, we would be so much better off. People are looking to hand the keys over to their existence to somebody else because they're incapable of making the decisions in their lives. Dan is someone who is trying to help us change that dynamic by giving us educational opportunities. A free flow of communication, which I absolutely love. It's almost like the Socratic method. You're not going to get a professor shutting you down because you have a different point of view. You're here to share and exchange ideas, and I absolutely love that. So God bless Dan, God bless Nita, and everybody who works for EmpowerU. It's all voluntary, and it's all, I mean, again, look at this wonderful space and the time and money Dan has committed. This is a thing that needs to grow, and I hope more business leaders decide to embrace this concept and empower us, because that is what makes the world a better place. So Dan, God bless you. Thanks so much. Whoa! Sorry about that. Oh, and I didn't break it. That was the second Heineken, I guess.
So we are going to give out the EmpoweU awards if you will.
Nah, he didn't deserve this.
Okay.
Ken Bowman, congratulations, Empowered Citizen Award. Ken Bowman, of course he deserves it. Get up here. And I will tell you, if you need any framing, this is the place to go. Without question. All American-made materials, American manufactured with American employees. Dan knows what he's doing.
These are husband and wife.
All right. Dynamic duo for Jude and Mel. DeWitt. Congratulations.
I think that's, I'm trying to go in alphabetical order, but it's hard, Brian.
That's okay.
I know.
I don't think they care.
Okay, good.
You know what? Go out of alphabetical order. Just people up.
That's a good idea.
Perfect. David Cunningham, congratulations. Come on up. Accepting the award for David Cunningham is Brian Thomas. Tom DeMuth, congratulations. Is Tom here? Accepting the award is Nita Thomas. Sean Hauser, congratulations, Empowered Citizen Award. A familiar face. I see Tom all the time. He's like a family member.
We have to keep Don because he had another engagement.
Don Hurd, voice of EmpowerU.
He is great, isn't he?
Jay Gronke, another EmpowerU Citizen Award, another one. Diane Landy. Is Diane here tonight? Probably at the bar. Ken Nolman? Do you have anybody here? Joe Platt. Come up and accept your award, Joe. Congratulations. You get to keep that one. Doug McKim. Doug is here. Congratulations, Doug. Thanks for your help. William McKendick. Tom McKim. Is Tom here? I'm sorry, Tony. See, this is not even one that requires reading glasses. I can read this. Tony, I apologize. Congratulations. Thank you so much. Bill Roll. There he is. You're the man. Thanks, Bill. Charlene Schell, by attending 10 EmpoweU sessions during the fall 2017 to 2018 season. Marty Steer, I didn't see Marty, and Tony. They're not here tonight. Wow, they never miss anything. Say a quick prayer for Marty and Tony. Larry Taylor, are you here tonight? Larry? All right, the rest of the awards will be awarded in absentia. Thank you. Congratulations to all the Empowered Citizens Awards. They all attended 10 classes, and, you know, I also think it's a really great thing that Dan has allowed this video feed. So if you can't make it to the class live, you can always show up in front of your home computer. Dan?
Let's give Brian a round of applause, everybody. Thank you.
Oh, okay. I'm going to introduce our first speaker here. Can you hear me? It's not on? Oh, these things are so trying. Anyway, I wanted to acknowledge Dusty Rhodes that's here. We kind of missed him because he came in later. Let's give Dusty a round of applause. And I'd like to introduce a good friend of mine who's been a representative and a senator and has represented our township very, very well in our county. And any of you that have heard Mr. Seitz speak before know that you're in for a treat. He's one of our favorite speakers, and he's usually backed by popular demand. And this is no exception. So come on up, Mr. Seitz.
Well, thank you very much, Nita. And I don't want to steal everything that Brian said, but let me start by saying how much I appreciate what Dan and Nita and the entire EmpoweU team does. When I retire, I intend to be at every one of your sessions because it'll make you a better rounded person, and it does exactly what Brian said. It exposes you to different aspects of life. Remember this, politics do not rule, the culture rules. When we have cultured people, we will have bettered politics. And that is why I appreciate EmpoweU's approach. I'm going to talk to you tonight about some things that have gone on in the State House and that are going to go on, things that you probably, many of them, you don't know about. But before I do, I want to set the stage with the big picture. So I've been in the legislature since 2001. Since 2005, under Republican leadership, we have cut the state income tax by 1/3, 33%. We have abolished the corporate income tax. We have abolished the tangible personal property tax. We have abolished the tax on inventory, fixtures, and furnishings. We have not only done that, but we have closed an $8 billion budget hole left by Governor Strickland. We did it largely without raising taxes, except for cigarette taxes. And I wasn't very happy about that as a smoker. But nonetheless, we did it. And just this week, our Bureau of Workers' Compensation announced another $1.5 billion in refunds to employers for Bureau of Workers' Compensation premiums, making a total of $8 billion refunded to Ohio employers in the last 5 years. We've done that through a combination of legislative efforts to rein in who can sue and for how much under BWC, through good management by the Bureau of Workers' Compensation, and frankly, through great returns in the stock market that the Bureau has achieved. So we have done some good things. In the budget last year, the state of Ohio is spending over $1 billion previously on the opioid crisis. We increased that amount by $177 million to build out the treatment centers that are so desperately needed to get these people off of drugs and into treatment. In the last 2 weeks, recognizing the issue about gun violence in our schools, we did not follow the Chuck Schumer approach of restricting people's gun rights. We increased school security grants by $10 million available to any private or public school throughout the state of Ohio to harden the security in their buildings. And that's very important. That's the way you get this done. We can't stop every nut, but if we harden security, we can make a great deal of difference, just like we did after 9/11. What did we do? We hardened security at the airports. Now, I know a lot of us don't like that. You got the TSA groping squad down there, and that's not great, but at the same time, you must acknowledge we've had a much reduced incidence of any kind of terror accidents or violent accidents at our airports. That's the solution we need to employ at our schools. Also, in the last 2 weeks, we approved a measure allowing school districts to put a school levy dedicated to school security on the ballot. If this is such a big issue, we'll bring up David Hogg or whatever his name is and all the Parkland teenagers and get them to campaign for more money for school security, okay? Now we're giving school districts that option. There are 4 or 5 bills that I want to talk about that are my bills, but they're all through the House, and we hope the Senate acts on them. I've been on a crusade for 10 years to say that Ohio should not pay illegal aliens workers' compensation. Representative Householder and I got that bill through in the transportation budget a year ago. The Senate took those provisions out. Representative Householder and I put that same bill in as a standalone bill. The House approved it overwhelmingly recently, and I hope the Senate takes it up seriously. We don't let illegal aliens get Medicaid except for emergencies. They cannot get unemployment compensation. Why in the holy heck are they eligible to get Bureau of Workers' Compensation money? And so I've been fighting that. The other thing I've been fighting for years, you know, is if you listen to the Scott Sloan show, no disrespect, Brian and Rocky, is red light and speed cameras, policing for profit. There's a little village outside of Columbus called Bryce. The village has 120 people. Last year, they issued $171,000 in red light and speed camera tickets in Bryce. Over 73% of their general fund budget came from those tickets. This is policing for profit, ladies and gentlemen. And so our latest bill that overwhelmingly passed the House a couple of weeks ago, my bill, says, okay, cities, since you have these wonderful home rule powers that the Supreme Court says are even superior to the General Assembly's powers to restrict you, we're not going to try to restrict those cameras anymore. But here's what we are going to do. For every nickel you raise from red light and speed cameras, we're cutting your state aid dollar for dollar. If it's all about safety, we'll find out if it's all about safety. We'll find out. There is a bill that was just signed today by the governor, one of my bills, and I worked on it in a bipartisan way with Representative Catherine Ingram, a Democrat from our county. How many people knew that until today, it was illegal for a wheelchair-bound person to be transported in Ohio anyway except by ambulette? How many people knew that? That's the truth. And so Councilman Kevin Flynn approached me about a year ago and said, as you know, he's wheelchair-bound, said, hey, this is nonsense. Why shouldn't we be able to have Uber and Lyft and taxi cabs, which, by the way, are much cheaper than ambulettes, if we want to go that way? Now, if we want the added safety and security of a ambulette, okay, fine, but at least give these folks, the disabled, an option. And so this was a bill that was introduced a session ago. It didn't pass. I got it passed. As of today, disabled people have the same rights as we do to use other modes of transportation. We have a couple more that I'm going to mention, then I'm going to sit down. We have a bill, or actually we passed it in the budget last year. Governor did it this week. We are now issuing orders or a request to the federal government that in order to qualify for Medicaid, if you are able-bodied, you must work. This is not intended. This is not intended to hurt those that are disabled or that are ill or mentally ill or people with young children, but there are plenty of able-bodied people, particularly under this expanded Medicaid that our Republican governor proposed, okay? There are plenty of able-bodied people that could and should be working. And so we had to go to the federal government, just like Indiana did, and get a waiver request, which we ordered the governor to do against his will, and we did it. And this week, the governor issued that request to the federal government. I'm sure President Trump will grant it. One other bill, yes, that's long, long overdue. Long, long overdue. I have a bill, as you can tell, I'm kind of a libertarian guy, just like Brian said, who can make better decisions than you? How many people knew that in Ohio, it's legal to buy fireworks in Ohio, but illegal to set them off in Ohio? How many people think that law is assiduously followed on 4th of July? So I got a bill through the House with bipartisan support from Representative Sweeney in Cleveland that will establish a framework for people to be able to buy fireworks in Ohio and discharge them in Ohio from and after July 1, 2020, subject to local control. So that if some little village or township or city wants to say, we don't want fireworks or we want them only discharged between these hours or on these days, the locals will be able to make that decision. But I think it is ridiculous that we're trying to tell Americans, you can buy them here, but you can't set them off here. Wink, wink, nod, nod, say no more. That's nonsense. So we have been doing a lot of good things. Very few of these things are published in the press. They're all occupied with alleged stories of corruption. I don't believe there's any corruption in Columbus or by our former speaker, and I know I'm guilty of none myself. So I would ask you, just like the FBI is trying to cause trouble for President Trump, do not believe all the bullcrap you read in the paper about alleged Republican corruption. It is all part of the deep state trying to run us down and prevent us from achieving the mission that we committed to you that we're going to achieve. So with that, I will stand down. You've got a great dais tonight with great speakers. Thank you all very much.
Thanks so much for coming. I can't tell you, being kind of a small business owner, how much one of the most feared days of the year was the day we get our workman's compensation bill, being a manufacturing company. And our manufacturing workman's compensation has gone down so much, and we really appreciate that, Bill, and everybody who's done that. Two other people I wanted to introduce you to. Is Jeff Capel still here? Jeff, Jeff, he was here a little earlier. I wanted to introduce you to him. He's the person who has been so responsible for making sure that FC Cincinnati pays their property taxes. He's done an incredible job on that, and I really wanted you to say hi to him. And but now I'm going to invite you to raise your hands for a great friend of EmpoweU and just a great friend, the Vice Mayor of Cincinnati, Christopher Smitherman, who's going to talk to us a little bit about, I called it, I don't know if it was fair. I called it the chaos in Cincinnati. Is that fair? Go to it.
10 minutes. Thank you all so much. Will you put me on a timer, Michelle, to make sure that I stay within that? That's my chief of staff, Michelle Edwards. First of all, yes. And my legislative aide, Courtney Hauser, and they are really the two bosses. First, I want to start off by thanking all of you for your prayers for my family. And I really appreciate all the thoughtful cards, all the thoughtful conversations that I've had. And Pamela certainly appreciates it, and all of our wonderful children. Really, since the election, I want to start off by thanking Brian Shrive here. Now, stand up, Brian. Again, give it to him. Because Brian has really uncovered this shadow government that was happening down at City Hall. And I can't talk about anything else without talking about that shadow government. And we thought and we knew that it was happening, but it was Brian who exposed them. And so what was happening was 5 members of council, and whether you're a Republican here, whether you're an independent here, whether you're a Democrat here, whether you're a libertarian here, whatever your persuasion is, corruption is corruption. And what Brian did is Brian exposed the corruption that was happening at City Hall. And this is critical because what was happening is 5 members of council were getting together prior to votes and making decisions. And when I was coming to council, I thought I was involved in a debate. And I wasn't involved in a debate. 5 members of council had already gotten together. They had already got on conference calls. They had already decided what they were going to do. And if you go back and look at the text messages, they were saying approved, approved, approved. It was almost like they were running a meeting. And what Brian has done is Brian has dug down even deeper. Please listen, this is critical. Whoever is listening to this, because what is happening right now, my colleagues are trying to diminish what is happening here. They don't want to act like this is significant at all. And I want to tell everybody in this room, this is everything. This is everything we despise about our government, that they're getting down in a dark room, making decisions outside of the public and undermining our institutions. And you had a mayor who was duly elected, whether you like John Cranley or not, and I like John Cranley, that he was elected the mayor of the city of Cincinnati, and we expect him to serve his term without corruption. And so what you saw there is every debate that we had, you named the debate, whether it was responsible bidder, which I won't get into, whether it was FCC Cincinnati, which we won't get into, whether it was appointments to specific boards like Rashawn Mack to the SORTA board, that these 5 members of council were getting together and making the decisions before they reached the floor of council. And I want to tell you, in the state of Ohio, in the United States of America, that is illegal. Now, I want you all to remember a few things, how we met, how we got together. We started my relationship with many of you through the jail tax. That was council saying they wanted to build some massive jail. They wanted to charge us some massive tax to do it. You heard Bill Seitz talking about red light cameras. Guess what? The city of Cincinnati is the first city in the state of Ohio to ban red light cameras. That is true. And let me thank Michelle Edwards right here, who, oh, she's looking at me like, don't even point me out, who was a critical person helping us, am I lying, Brian Schreiber, was working on those petitions to stop us having red light cameras. Now, at that time, if you remember, the city of Cincinnati said they wanted to balance the budget, as Bill Seitz was saying, Senator Seitz was saying, in order for us to generate revenue. Man, you had me so tickled when you said, let's just figure out whether that's true or not. We're gonna lower what we give you dollar for dollar, and we're gonna figure out whether red light cameras are about safety or about revenue. Man, that is awesome. If you all remember that the city of Cincinnati, look, don't even get caught up in where you are on the issue. Think about it. The city attempted to sell our entire water system for $400 million, transfer it to a 5-member body that we would have no access to, Brian Schreiber. You're talking about a shadow government. They wanted to spend $400 million to build what? The streetcar. Imagine if we had transferred that very important asset. We had done a $400 million transaction. We lost control of the asset, and then they spent all the money to build the streetcar. That would have made no sense at all. Why am I raising this issue? We must stay true to our petitioning our government. And so I'm highlighting these issues because we're about to petition our government again. And we're gonna need your help. Because in the next week or so, listen, everybody on the internet, this is an announcement. We are about to roll out our petition on 2-year terms for city council. And we've got to thank Brian Schreiber and his team for doing what? For exposing this government for its corruption. See, the 4-year terms make city council very comfortable. That for 4-year terms didn't have anything to do with council members saying they wanted more time in order to debate substantive issues. The 4-year terms just made them more corrupt, more shadow government, less transparency. And when we go back to 2-year terms, this will be good for the citizens of Cincinnati. So we hope to roll out that petition quite aggressively, be at your festivals, collecting signatures, and place the issue on the ballot for November. And we're going to need your help. We'll need about 6,500 or 6,700 signatures. We hope our validity rate is excellent, and we have to get about 10,000 signatures to ultimately get it on the ballot. Now, we know that the members of council are not going to support this initiative because they want 4-year terms, because they believe it makes them comfortable. So it's going to be us through radio, as Brian Thomas was here, a friend, to get on that radio when we get the issue on the ballot, and for us to educate through EmpoweU on how this is important to the citizens of Cincinnati. This is a critical ballot initiative for all of us to get behind and support. Now, this will not go into effect for 4 years. So what would happen would be we would finish out a 4-year term, and once that term is over, the 2-year terms would then kick back in. Now, P.G. Sittenfeld wants to be the next mayor of the city of Cincinnati. So before I sit down, I want to talk a little bit about that. And I hope he's listening very closely. We've been watching him play identity politics in a big way on the floor of council. His mindset to try to pander and undermine African-American leadership on council. We're talking about Jeffrey Pastor as an example. We're talking about Christopher Smitherman on council. Here we have a young white male liberal trying to tell me about being an African-American. I want you all to hear this. This is pure insanity that's going on the floor of council. And he sits there and lectures it. I call it the Jerry Maguire moment. Have you all ever heard that? You ever know that? Remember that thing where you hear P.G. Sittenfeld going all over the city of Cincinnati saying, I love the black man. I love you. Listen to me. Listen to me. This is important because this is the identity politics that destroys our country. Where he's going to the community lying, misleading, not doing anything to empower anyone. The African-American community is smarter than that. We understand, P.G. Sittenfeld, that you're not going to dismiss us. You're not going to, my staff is telling me, 1 minute, you're not going to undermine us with all of this rhetoric that means nothing. What makes my children great, I'm proud of them, is looking at my boys and saying, son, here are the expectations. You can't walk around with your pants hanging down. That's bad for you. You must say yes, sir, and no, ma'am, and have respect for your family. We need more fathers and mothers in households loving on their children. More people in church, people having a faith. What we don't need are more pandering. These things do not help, and we get it. It's going to be so important in the upcoming election. It's going to be so important in the upcoming election, whatever it is. And I tell you, I'm going to leave by saying this. Kurt Hartman here, a friend of ours, who exposed corruption. He exposed the corruption that was happening with the union, that spent $300,000 trying to get rid of me. Think about $300,000 to get rid of me. I want to thank you, Judge Hartman, for that work. And publicly, I want you to know that we're going to support you this year. In 2 years, we're going to support you. We're going to continue to support my brother. We appreciate you. Chris Monzel in the back, thank you so much. I know you're coming up. Listen, I want to thank you and your mom. I got to say this. I know you're coming. We're talking about, I'm gonna tell a little of your business, so don't beat me up too bad. But here's a woman who has fought cancer and won. Listen, this is a woman, every time I see her, and I'm trying not to get emotional, who always lifts up my wife. No matter where I am, she's always praying for her. She's always giving her a lifting hand, always giving us a lifting hand. And I just want to thank you publicly for everything that you've been doing to pray for our family. We thank you so much. We love you. Thank you so much. Appreciate you, brother. Yeah, thank you, man.
Thank you. Thank you, Christopher. So we've heard about a little bit about the state, a little bit about the city, and now we're so glad to have Commissioner Chris Monzel here to talk to us about the county before we hear from our headline speaker, Chris Monzel. Chris, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much. What a tough act to follow. You know, if I knew I was going to follow Vice Mayor Smitherman, I probably would have said, hey, next time. I mean, Christopher, we appreciate your leadership and your rational and reasonable voice down at City Council. I've served with you down there, and trust me, you are a shining light for us. So please keep up the fight for us down at City Hall. We appreciate it. A couple of things kind of going through as I come in here today. First, I want to thank Dan and the folks, Anita Thomas, for the EmpoweU series. I mean, what an incredible group of individuals that put together, you know, on a monthly basis, you know, several times, just different types of presentations to educate our citizens. I mean, it's just so tremendous of an opportunity for folks to come in and learn about everything. I mean, I think one time you had Bill Seitz talking about real estate taxes, or Chris Finney was coming in about real estate taxes. You do events like this. So I think we should give a round of applause to Dan and Nita and all the folks for the EmpoweU. We appreciate it. You know, there's a couple things going on at the county I want to update you on. I know you've probably been hearing a little bit about it, but then also we'll end up with a couple other kind of quick stories. So as you heard, county's facing a $28 million deficit. It's not the first time, and it won't be the last time. It just happens within government. So what we're trying to do is figure out how to get through this. Currently, the county administration has proposed to put a 1/4 cent sales tax, just to put it through. Not even to put on the ballot, just to put it through. So I want to talk to you a little bit about that and what that means. So currently, in the county, we can go up, we have a 1/2 cent of our sales tax going to the county general fund. We have another 1/2 cent going to 2 stadiums that we own on the river. Yes, and then we have a 1/4 cent going to the Union Terminal Restoration Project. So the first 1% I just said there is totally forever. The stadium sales tax is forever. There's no end date. The general fund 1/4 cent is forever. The Union Terminal one expires in about 1.5 years. So April of 2020, that actually expires. And that was something that we did that has never, in my knowledge, ever happened in Hamilton County, and perhaps across the United States, where a sales tax actually expires. It's a novel idea, right? Just get the amount of money you need and stop. And so that's what, you know, I think we have to look at, and the power that we have from the state, through the state legislature, we can go up to another 1/4 cent. And that's what the county administration is saying. Go take that last 1/4 and use it to balance our general fund, which is about $28 million in the debt. So $28 million, you're looking at a piece of the part, about 10 million of it roughly is because the sales tax that we used to collect on Medicaid managed care organizations, we can no longer collect that sales tax. Obamacare came in, and the federal government came into the state of Ohio saying, you can't put that sales tax on these organizations because they're necessary for the Affordable Care Act. You can't be charged them that sales tax. Well, we kept doing it. So we kept doing it in a couple of years, and then finally the feds came in and said, if you continue, we're going to fine you. And so last year, the state decided to remove that sales tax, and with that, they gave a lump sum to the certain counties based on their population, amount of money to get through 2018. And so that was roughly almost about $10 million. So the $28 million is about 10 million just cut from, we're just not gonna get that sales tax anymore. There's another about 4 million of one-time sources, one of which is our parking revenue that we get from our parking garages down in the banks. There's also some other funding that's come in. That's just a one-time source. So now you're at the 14 million. the other 14 million is basically increases in inflation, increase to healthcare costs, which is like a double effect of Obamacare, right? Obamacare knocked us out of collecting the sales tax, and now with the increase everybody's seen in their healthcare, who has seen increases in their healthcare cost? I mean, daily I hear from people that their healthcare has been doubled or tripled because the effect of Affordable Care Act and Obamacare. So that is now contributing to that other 14 million that we're witnessing in our deficit. So you're talking about a $28 million deficit. Well, if you do a quarter-cent sales tax, that brings in about $38 million. $38 million. How much is our deficit? $28 million. $10 million more will be coming in with this quarter-cent sales tax. What do you think they're going to use that money for? They're not going to give back, right? I mean, Ronald Reagan said, government always finds a means for the money that they give you. They always find a way to spend it. And so my concern I have with the proposal that's being put out there by the county administration is you're going to get a quarter-cent sales tax. It's going to bring in $38 million. You only need $28 million. You got $10 million out there. What's that going to go for? Because honestly, Vice Mayor Smitherman, sorry, I've looked into the future. Little prophesizing there. Vice Mayor Smitherman, if the city of Cincinnati all of a sudden saw the county flush with $10 million extra dollars, do you think they're going to be coming and saying, hey, can you build a streetcar for us going up to Clifton? Can you take over the Metro bus system? Can you put in a subway system that goes all the way across the whole county? I mean, they will. Can you build a new U.S. Bank Arena? Well, yeah, we got $10 million laying around. So for me, that's my biggest concern about what is being proposed. And we haven't even looked at where we potentially could cut. And that's another issue I have. Right now, underneath the Board of County Commissioners' control, we have 39 vacant positions that are funded. So that's like 39 seats here that have been paid for, but nobody's sitting in them. So don't spend the money. Don't fill those positions unless they're absolutely critical necessary for the function of county government. Don't fill them. Well, right there, you could have a savings. I mean, this is something I try to do when I look at government and I'm an engineer, and I'm an engineer at GE, is how do you run it like a business? I mean, Dan, you have a small business here. You can't just go out and just raise your prices up and expect everybody to come in and buy your goods and make more money for you. You got to run your business lean and cost effective. And so that's the same thing government needs to do. We need to look at it through a business lens of where can we cut waste? Where can we be more cost effective in our budgeting? And right away is these positions that are funded that are vacant. Another one is looking at early retirements. We have a portion of our workforce that will going to probably retire the next year. So let's look at those and see if they can retire early, just like they do in the private sector, and be able to save that money. We can also look at our healthcare costs. That's something that we're trying to figure out, just like you do as a small business. How do you save money within the healthcare? Well, the county needs to do the same thing. And that's, I think, what we have to really focus on in the next few weeks is trying to come up with those ideas instead of just going out and raising the sales tax by 0.25%. Because the current situation that they're saying is the county commissioners, by June 18th, if a majority, so 2 of the 3, vote to put that 25-cent sales tax on, then it goes on. Now, we as the people have a 60-day window to referendum it. And if nobody referendums it, it goes in effect in October. So I think it would behoove us all to watch what happens over the next few weeks, to see what the county commission finally ends up doing. But if on June 18th, there's a vote, 2-1, that says, yes, let's put this 25% sales tax on, then we have 60 days to collect petitions. And Vice Mayor Smitherman, I think we know some folks here that can collect petitions and get it done. So we can, it says 60 days. They told me 60 days. So Brian's saying 3 months. Oh, 30 days, yeah. Well, you can get it done in 30 days. I do not know the number of signatures from a county. 15% of the governors? 15%. No. 45 days. So you've done it, so it shouldn't be a problem to do it again. So I just wanted to bring that to everyone's attention, that by June 18th, watch to see if that's going to go forward. Because if it doesn't, if we don't referendum it, then it won't be an opportunity for the people to even vote on it, which I think is wrong. I mean, I think at least the people have a chance to vote on whether or not they want to raise the sales tax up to 1/4%. And by the way, the state actually gave us the power to only go to 1/10 of a cent, which is a lot easier and probably is a lot better than the 1/4. So because you're talking about, half or a little bit more than half of the money that was raised. So that's one issue that we're dealing with and trying to come up with, as I said, over the next few weeks, which, is really crucial, I think, on the health of our county. I mean, if you look at how we've been doing in Hamilton County, the past several years, we've had a lot of growth. We had a lot of opportunity. If you just go from downtown all the way through the county, up 75, 71, you see a lot of opportunity happening. The last thing we need to do is to raise taxes and thus cause a burden. The power to tax is the power to destroy. And that is, I think, a crucial concept that I think we need to bring back to government and for folks to understand. And I see Dan standing up here, so I see the hook coming. And I want to end with two things. So one, my oldest boy, who goes to St. X, wanted me to ask Rocky Boiman about the story of a football coach, Steve Speck, whether or not he got tangled up in some telephone wires or something in front of Coach Razzo. So, okay. I thought he wouldn't know what was going on. So, but then the last thing is, and first I do want to thank Rocky honestly, Rocky is such a role model for our youth. He goes and participates in football camps across the county, and it's just a tremendous, I think, role model, not only from your days playing in NFL, but also your service for Green Township as a Green Township trustee and a public servant. So, we really appreciate that, Rocky. Thank you so much. And the last thing I want to end with is tomorrow's my mom's birthday. And I would wish everybody, if we could just sing happy birthday to her real quick, just to wish her happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Mom. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. God bless. Hey, thank you so much.
You bet. So listen, I don't ask you to do much homework, but one piece of homework I do think you need to do is you need to send an email to two people if you live in Hamilton County, and that's Denise Driehaus and Todd Portune. And you need to say, listen, if you're going to increase the sales tax in Hamilton County, you need to let the people vote on it. That is the only fair thing. And as you know, the last time, or those of you who don't know, the last time two commissioners, David Pepper and Todd Portune, decided they were going to raise the sales tax on their own, the citizens stood up and said, you're going to do it with our permission. And I encourage you to do that. Let's thank Chris Monzel for coming up and speaking to us. His mom brought the most incredible pastries from Servati. You should try some on your way out. And with that said, Nita Thomas is going to introduce our guest speaker. Nita.
Okay, I'd like to introduce Rocky Boiman. I'm so happy to have Rocky here tonight to have our speaker. Rocky, if you don't know, is the co-host of the Eddie and Rocky show from 3 to 6 p.m. on 700 WLW. Anybody listen to that? It's really good. Good.
Yeah.
Prior to this, Rocky was an 8-year veteran linebacker of the National Football League. He was drafted by the Tennessee Titans in the 4th round in 2002. He was also a member of the Indianapolis Colts, Pittsburgh Steelers. Oh, Rocky, really? Oh. And Kansas City Chiefs. He earned a Super Bowl ring with the Colts in the Super Bowl. And Rocky played college football for the University of Notre Dame and served as team captain in his senior year. And he graduated in 1998 from St. Xavier High School in his hometown of Cincinnati. And he was Green Township trustee from 2011 to 2014. Let's welcome Rocky.
All right. Yeah.
We'll forgive you, Pittsburgh, Rocky.
I know. That's the one everyone always. Can you ever hear me on this? Okay, yeah, I don't need this one. Thank you, Nita. Wait, here, you just go ahead and take that. No, thank you. I also want to thank Brian Thomas for not coming back up here and knocking the PowerPoint down. Not wrecking that. There you go. I want to apologize to everyone who thought that I was Andy Dalton and that I was here to talk about the Bengals. You wouldn't believe how many times I get that. True story. I was in the airport a couple weeks ago, and I ran into AJ Green, who I was the following day. We did like the Inquirer Sports Awards. I interviewed him and stuff. And swear to God, AJ Green and his wife are standing there, and I walk up to shake, and he goes, like, give me one of those. Like, I was like, you should know that I'm not your quarterback. So anyway, but no, it's a pleasure being here. I want to thank Dan. I want to thank Nita, thank Roger, everybody for allowing me to be here. I've been a part of many of these events. Haven't been around in a while because with the radio, with my job working 3 to 6 now with 700 WLW, it's, you know, the hours are a little bit different. I also have a 4-year-old at home. Got another one coming in about 5 weeks, so it's a little bit of a busy time. But I hope to get back up here and enjoy these presentations because I think they're great. So I kind of want to just, you know, talk a little bit about some of the things, the lessons I learned, and just points that I saw along the way during my 8-year career in the NFL. I think a lot of people are interested in what goes on in some of the top businesses in the world, what goes on at Google, what goes on at Amazon, what goes on at Facebook. Well, on Facebook, they're looking at all your information, so we know that. But also in terms of the NFL, I think people want to know what goes on because it's a top-level industry. And, again, just some points that I've seen along the way and I think some of these things, they go along the lines of leadership and just kind of habits of the top players that I've seen, of the top professionals. And I think by sharing some of these, we can take those into whether we own a business or we are in government or we have young people, kids, that we can pass on some of these lessons that the top people, coaches, top leaders, top players, how they go about things. So we'll rock and roll here. If I can get it pointed the right way. Okay, here we go. Again, break it 2 themes: habits of great players, habits of great teams. So number one thing, I used to play a couple years with that guy, Peyton Manning. And of all the great things that I learned about him and his dedication to the sport, one of the biggest things I took away from him and other top players that I played with, and why they were the best at what they did. And of course, a guy like Peyton Manning is blessed with tremendous ability, right? God said, here you go, right? He can read a football field, he can throw, he can do all those kind of things. But what made him the best was he was a process-driven guy versus an outcome-driven guy. All right, there's a lot of people out there, a lot of players in the NFL, for instance, that love what the NFL brings them in terms of a reward. They love the paycheck, they love the media attention, love the airplane rides, love the fans, love the autographs. But believe it or not, some of them don't really love football. They don't love the everyday grind, okay, of what it means, what it takes to be a player. And usually the players that last a short amount of time are just the guys that like the results. The ones that last a long amount of time are the ones that enjoy the process. And again, this is not just football players. This is anybody. I would say what makes Chris Smitherman, Chris Monzel, Bill Seitz, Dusty Rose, what makes those folks, I'm sure those politicians, right, that I just mentioned, I'm sure that they love talking to the media. They love being at ribbon cutting ceremonies. They love those sorts of things. But what makes them good, what makes them really good politicians, they also love the dirty work. They love the committee meetings and a lot of the mundane things that go along with the profession. Where again, as a Peyton Manning, he was a guy who loved showing up at 6 a.m. and lifting weights, loved showing up on the off day and watching film, loved going to treatment, loved, sitting in a dark room and studying plays, those sorts of things that anybody loves to go out on the field and throw passes in front of hundreds of thousands of people, right? But what made someone like him the best is, like I said, they enjoyed the process. So if you're, again, a business owner, or you have a young one, you're trying to give them some advice for what kind of direction they should go in their life, encourage them to go into something that not just where they love the results of what they may get out of that profession, but they also love the process. You enjoy the process, the rest will take care of itself. So again, enjoy the process of things. Do you embrace the grind? Do you embrace the dirty work? I'm sure, Dan, you love, You know, when you get the paycheck at the end of the week, end of the month, I'm sure you love seeing your employees, but, you know, hassling over reports and dealing with bureaucracy and all that stuff, that's not exactly fun, but you love it in a sense because you know the ultimate reward, that's what it takes, correct? That's what kind of some things that I've learned, again, in my time in the NFL. And these just put up a couple other guys. You know, I played with that guy on the left there, Peyton Manning, of course, Steve McNair also. I played with him for 4 years. God rest his soul. He was also a process-driven guy, loved everything about the sport, and that's what made him great. Tom Brady, very famous, how much he loves film and watching and studying and getting in the playbook. No offense to anyone who loves Cam Newton, but the word on the street about him is he's not necessarily a guy who loves the process all the time. Sure, he loves the interviews and loves the things that the NFL brings him, but maybe not necessarily every aspect of the game. All right. So, boy, is that a good-looking picture of me or what? Wow. I used to be a little bit bigger. But anyway, again, this is maybe the most critical of all the lessons, of all the things I learned during my time in the NFL. Something that I thank God I learned. Thank God I learned the hard way, and now take that with me, whatever I do, everything I do moving forward, is that phrase right there. No excuses, no explanations. And just to go in a little bit more of this picture, you see that right there, right? That cast, okay? So that's having to play with that. That picture is, again, where I learned this lesson. So this was 2004. This is my third year. And I had kind of a rough off season. I got injured, had a sports hernia kind of situation. Think it was kind of a tough year. Third preseason game, I break my hand, right? Break my hand right there. Boom, crack. And we're getting ready to play a game in like a week and a half, a regular season game. And the coaches kept, Rock, we need you, man. You got to get out there. And, and I wanted to be out there because I like to play through pain and do all those sort of things. But, knowing that as I'm out there, I'm not going to be able to be my best, right? It's hard to tackle people. It's hard to get off a box when you don't have a hand, that sort of thing. So, okay, but look, I'm going to give it a go here. I'm going to play. I'm going to, do my best here. Coaches, yeah, we need you out there, man. Don't worry about anything. It's fine, this and that. So then I have a terrible game. Awful, awful, awful game. Miss a bunch of tackles. I can't get off of any blocks, this and that. And the next day we're sitting in a room kind of like this, a dark film room, because this is kind of usually how it goes. They put the game film up there. Coaches are up there, and play comes up, and, Rocky, what are you doing right here? Why did you miss that tackle? And I'm like, hello, what do you mean why did I miss that tackle? Why couldn't you get off that block? And through that very painful film session there and beyond, I learned that they didn't give a damn that my hand was broke, because it was about one thing. It was about results, right? A very, very important lesson. And that, again, that's what I loved. Well, the hardest part about the NFL, but also what I loved about it is it was very unforgiving. It didn't care if you were old. It didn't care if you were young. It didn't care if you were injured. It didn't care if you were healthy. It didn't care if you were white. It didn't care if you were black. Did you make the damn play? Did you make the tackle? Did you catch the ball? Did you complete the pass? And again, that's a very hard lesson. I think a lot of times in life, everyone kind of has excuses. Well, coach, I just, the sun got in my eyes and I couldn't catch it, or, Mr. Boss, I would have had this report done, but my kids were sick last night. And largely, the world doesn't care what your excuses are, and that's a harsh thing. That's not the most comfortable thing, but it's reality. And I think the more all of us can understand that concept and whatever it is we do, and the more we can, more importantly, pass that on to our kids. We live in the excuse generation, right? Everyone that can't interact with one another, and everyone has an excuse for everything. So I encourage folks to pass that lesson on down. It's a very important lesson I learned, and it's something, again, I take with me to this day. So again, just, process-driven versus outcome-driven people. And do you have a no excuses, no explanations mentality? I have it on my bathroom mirror. I wrote it on a little piece of paper as I'm brushing my teeth in the morning, and I don't want to get out of bed. No excuses, Rock. You got to get up. You got to go. So think about that as you go, about your daily lives. as you interact with your kids, grandkids, that sort of thing. Also want to talk about, as we talk about teamwork and teams, and I was a part of some crappy teams, and I was a part of some really good teams, teams that had great leadership, teams that had terrible leadership. And I played with a team with the Kansas City Chiefs, where we went 2-14. I wish 2-14 upon nobody. That is miserable, losing every week. And obviously played on a Super Bowl championship team with the Colts in 2006. So some of the things I learned here, obviously they have a great team. You got to have great leaders, period, end of story. And one of the things, and again, this is just some of the great leaders that I played for Jeff Fisher for 4 years. Tony, how about that picture, folks? That is the night we won the Super Bowl at our Super Bowl party. That's Tony Dungy, and he's standing there holding the trophy and introducing the people, and that's my dad right there. And I walk up and, Tony, let me introduce you to my dad. He goes, Mr. Boiman, you got a great son. Here, hands him that trophy. My dad goes like that, snap, and took that picture. Pretty cool, right? So again, Tony Dungy, great coach. Mike Tomlin, I know you hate him, but he's actually a good coach. I know, you can boo him, that's fine. And then that guy right there, that's Urban Meyer. He actually recruited me to the University of Notre Dame back in 1998. He was the special teams coach up there. And now in my ventures with ESPN, I get to, work with a guy like that. And here's another good picture. That's high school age Rocky Boiman, my mom, my dad, and Urban Meyer right there. And what these great leaders did, the quality they had in common, they focused on building a culture, right? I think the bad coaches out there are ones that focus on the little stuff, the X's and O's, and how are we going to do this, and how are we going to, what's our offense need to do, what's our defense need to do. The good coaches focus on building a culture. The good leaders of our community don't nitpick about the details. They focus on the culture. Right? What was Donald Trump trying to do? Drain the swamp, right? Because the culture was terrible down there, and he's doing that, right? Chris Smitherman talked about what's going on down at City Council. Bad culture. Got a five-member little conglomerate there that thinks they can just do whatever they want. It's a bad culture. Good leaders come in and focus on getting that culture better. Urban Meyer, for instance, he has Real World Wednesdays he does with his team. Actually, I just spoke with him on Sunday, and he was telling me about this program where on Wednesdays they don't talk football, right, during the offseason. They come in, they have people present to them. He brings in somebody from the political department of Ohio State and teach them what a conservative is, what a liberal is, what does the Supreme Court do, what does the president do. Brings in you name it, all aspects of life, and focuses on building that culture and making sure, those guys are strong. Because when you have a strong culture, things will happen, ups and downs, bad days, good days. But if you have that solid foundation, that's what's going to get you through the tough times. So, again, leaders out there of business, focus on that culture, not just the X's and O's. I think the other thing I learned just from some of those coaches and the good leaders I've been around, they focus on the personnel they have versus their way of doing things. And this is a fine line. I think as a leader, you got to have like a mission statement, all right? You got to have hey, I like to do things this way, but I think you also got to be flexible. For instance, if you're a football coach that loves to have a strong run game, I'm making this up. You like to run the ball, right? You want to have a strong run game. But you look at your offensive line, and your offensive line is all 5'4" and 165 pounds, maybe you shouldn't focus on running the ball. Maybe you should be a coach. Hey, look, I'd love to be able to do that, but we got to look at the personnel. Let's look at the tools we have available here. And if I can't get new tools, this is all I got, well, let's find out a way we can make this work with the personnel that we have. I think you see the bad coaches out there that will often say, look, this is how I do it. This is it. And that's all this. Well, those coaches usually don't last very long. I think a coach, a manager, a business leader has to have an element of being a psychologist in them. You got to know what makes your people tick. You got to know what makes you tick is different from what makes you tick. And what makes you tick is different from what makes him a productive employee. You know what I'm saying? You can't just treat everybody exactly the same. I've seen Players, some of them, if coach comes and just absolutely screams and yells at them, boom, they shut down and that's it. They're the kind of, maybe they need to be encouraged a little bit. And hey, you know, come on, it's going to be all right. And some folks need to be screamed at, right? Some of you got to get on them, right? You got to dog cuss them, all that sort of thing. It's the leader's job, the coach's job, whatever it is, to find out what makes each individual person tick. Don't try to treat everyone exactly the same. So again, we'll make sure people tick. And I think it's important too, just lastly, common language, common habits, common goal. Have one kind of major theme voice as you go about things. So these are just some of the things, kind of buzz through this. This is one I'm sure a lot of business folks deal with. Social media distractions. People get caught doing this all day, right? It's hard to manage a business and be productive when you're doing all that. So again, that's just kind of in summary there. I think just kind of lastly, aside from that, I having been involved in sports my whole life, baseball, football, started playing football when I was age 7, retired when I was 30. I was blessed to play a long, long time. I'm a huge advocate of sports. I feel, it's my opinion, that a lot of us, we don't learn a ton, we don't learn everything from sitting in classrooms all the time. You got to learn it from real world experience, right? And sports are what does that. Encourage your young people, your kids, your grandkids to play sports, not just because they can earn a scholarship or whatever. In to play sports, so they learn these major life lessons, perseverance, teamwork, how to get up when you get knocked down, how to get along with people of the opposite race. How do you, those sort of things you can be taught all day in a classroom, but it doesn't usually sink in. Social media is an absolute cesspool, right? We're not learning anything on social media about some of these things, but through the sport, I think we can learn a lot, and especially for our young folks out there. But that's all I got today. I just wanted to share some of that. Hopefully that was somewhat enjoyable, and God bless, and I appreciate your time.
Rocky, do you have time for a question or two?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'll
a question or two for Rocky. Anybody have a question about teamwork, leadership?
Anything. Any questions? I'll stay here as long as you want. Anybody? Come on.
Who's got
somebody.
a question? Come on, let's fire it up. Right
Yes,
here.
ma'am.
If we could just have her talk into the microphone.
Hi, I'm Kimberly.
Yeah,
I'm just
Kimberly.
wondering if you do this for corporations, if you do the type of talk that you're doing now, motivational speaking.
I have. I spoke with similar to I spoke with Kroger like last year, and some teams and stuff like that on various topics. So
Okay, I'll reach
yeah.
out afterwards. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. Anything else?
Right here. Say your first name, please.
Yes, Tom. Moving from thinking about your grade school, then high school, then college, then you made 3 big leaps, right?
Right.
So there had to be athletes even in grade school that were as good as you thought, or maybe better.
Mm-hmm.
And then high school to college, same thing. College to pros. What was the difference?
Well, like in terms
For
of how I was
you
able to
and
make
the
it,
guys
or
that made it and the guys that didn't.
like I said, the first thing I said, process driven, right? I mean, sometimes when you're young and you're blessed with a lot of ability and things come easy at the lower levels, it's easy to succeed. But as the herd starts to thin out, as you start to get older, the people that make it are the ones, because you're going to face obstacles, you're going to face adversity, things aren't going to work out. I think that's one of the great things about sport is you learn that sometimes you can do everything right and things still just get effed up, right? And you got to be able to do that, because that's life. Life is sometimes you do everything right and it just don't work out, but that's life telling you, kind of giving you the fork in the road of where you're going to go. You're going to quit, you're going to be done with this, or you're going to find a way to persevere. So I think, I was very driven. I loved the sport. I had very supportive parents that were able to, when you reach some of those critical points, I loved the game enough and was getting blessed with, the ability to kind of keep battling through some of those times. I could tell stories of, when I was cut. I mean, I've been cut 3 times from teams. I thought, you think your NFL dream's over. I mean, you find out if you love football when it's October, you haven't been signed to a team, and it's Sunday, and it's cold, and you're up at some high school field. You're up at like Anderson High School, running stadium stairs and not even knowing if you're going to get a call, not even know if you're going to get a call to come back and play, but because you love the game and you want to see this damn thing through, you're going to hang in there. So again, those are some of the things that, when I look at my career, some of the things I'm most proud of. Of course, I love the Super Bowl rings, but the times I was able to fight through some of the things that other people couldn't, that's what I'm most proud of. Right here. Yes, sir.
Name is Jerry. Rocky, who was the head coach at Notre Dame when you were there?
Bob Davie. Bob Davie. Yeah, I was there for 4 of his 5 years. He's at New Mexico now.
Right here, right, Rocky, right here.
Yeah.
Graham George.
Graham?
I imagine athletes who get injured, sometimes they're looking for some kind of drug to reduce the pain so they can play. Is that a problem?
Oh, absolutely it is. I mean, you see it in the NFL. I mean, I was kind of playing before. My years in the NFL were 2002 to 2010, and that was kind of before, first of all, a lot of the stuff on concussions came out, and secondly, before a lot of the stuff on the power and the danger of the opioid. Yeah, people are taking whatever. It's a hard thing because, you got to learn how to deal with pain. You're going to play with pain, and you're never going to feel great. After about week 3, no one feels great. You got to find a way to get out there, and to be candid, sometimes you got to do what you got.
Rocky, we have a question back here online.
Thank you. We have Thomas watching us online. He's wondering what you think in general about the concussion issue and wondering if you've ever actually had a concussion.
I'm glad somebody asked me that. I'm very outspoken. I am probably different than you would think. There's a lot of NFL players that speak now that they're done. They talk about how they wish they'd never played and the game is dangerous. I'm kind of come from the opposite point of view. I think personally the game of football gives a lot more than it takes. Of course there's dangers. Of course there's people suffering, and you feel for those people. But I think it's not talked about as much, the great things that football does for kids in terms of giving them an outlet, allowing them to be a part of a team, giving, let's say, there's kids, myself, I was the first kid in my family to go to college. I would never been able to go to Notre Dame without football, but because this beautiful, wonderful thing called football exists, I was able to go and get a college scholarship and then go and graduate from college. And there's lots of kids where that happens. So yes, football is dangerous. I think life is meant to be lived. It's not meant to be scared. You shouldn't wrap yourself in bubble wrap. I think in terms of, I never tell parents, your kid should play or shouldn't play. I say it's up to you to look at your individual kid, okay? Every one of us are different, right? Some of us have, great skill set in this. Some of us have this. Some of us, in this instance, in this case for concussions, some kids, you could hit them over the head with a baseball bat. They'll never get a concussion. Some kids run into a table like that and they get one. Why? I don't know. That's just kind of how people are. Now, but it's your job as a parent to look at that kid and say, boy, my kid's kind of got a propensity for this or whatever. Maybe he shouldn't play. But if he doesn't and he's safe and he's enjoyable and he loves the game and he's learning all these great life lessons, why not put him out there? Why not put him out there? Because the game, again, I think it just so much.
One last question right here, Rocky.
Rocky, you have a 4-year-old son. What's the most important thing you've learned about life that you want to teach your son and your child that's coming into the world?
Excellent question. Thing. So with my son, what's the most important thing I want to teach him? Boy, that's a great one. Well, I'll give a couple. I want him, it's important for me to, I was raised with a lot of discipline. My dad was tough on me, but tough in a good way. And I think I want my kid to know that I'm going to be his parent first and his friend second, as hard as that is. But I think we get, this is my opinion, but I think there's a lot of parents out there these days that want to be friends with their kids and not necessarily parents, right? You guys know what I'm talking about. And it's tough because you want your kid to love you. And when I get on my son for whatever he's doing and he looks at me and gives me that lip and it's quivering and there's part of you goes, God, man, you want to just, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean that. You got to, how it is though, right? Parent, you got to stay firm. So I want him to know that, I want to be his father first and then his friend second, as tough as and then from there, I just want him to be whatever he wants to do. I want him to try to be the best at it. People say, all right, you're going to have your kid, he's going to play football. I don't know if he's going to play football. I'm not going to force him to play football. I'm going to find out whatever he wants to do. And once he kind of, you know, tries a few things and kind of centers in on what that is, I'm going to say, look, if it's the flute, right? If you choose to play then you're going to be the best flute player in the tri-state, right? I don't care. Honest to God, that would not upset me one bit. It would upset me to no end if he gave a half, you know what, kind of effort. So that's one thing that come hell or high water.
Let's thank our guests for coming
Thank
tonight,
you very
everybody.
much.
Thank you so
Appreciate it.
much, Rocky.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Appreciate it. So, just a couple quick things on your way out. I meant to introduce earlier Chris Monzel's new Chief of Staff, Lenita Hannicap, who's back there in the pink. Let's say hi to her. I want to tell you, you guys overachieved bringing food tonight. We've got so much food. Please grab some on your way out. And we've got two things we're going to give away. We're going to give away the Split the Pot, and I'm going to have Nita draw a ticket. So get your tickets out if you bought a Split the Pot ticket. So 622. 622. Your red ticket. Who's got 622? Oh, no. Oh, no. Going once, going twice. 627. 627 going once. You've got 627. Okay. Okay, what is it? 597. Anybody got 597? Okay, Mel. Congratulations, Mel. And then we've got a few raffle prizes. Congratulations, way to go. A few raffle prizes to give away. Get your white tickets out. We've got this year's EmpoweU reading list and the framed Constitution. So if you bought a white ticket, Anita? 314. Anybody have 314? 314 right here. Okay. And your name is?
Florence.
Florence. Congratulations. We'll give them to you when we're over. Everybody, thanks so much for a great semester. We will see you for no, they're both for yeah. We will see you at our 16th semester, the third week in September, everybody. Thank you. Have a good night. Please take food with you. Good seeing you guys again. Have a good summer. Good seeing you guys. Have a good summer. Do a great job. I'm glad you guys could come tonight.